more that they dispense, and if they're the best dispensing doctor in their area, they're invited to conferences and in international golf trips and holidays. And it really is an economic issue. And if you discovered, and Jerome Byrne from Food Matters, the documentary, one of the interviewees, he's a medical journalist from the United Kingdom, he said that if you discovered that the regulatory body for restaurants, for example, the regulatory body for restaurants that was required to regulate if they were clean, had clean toilets, provided clean food, if that regulatory body was paid for by the restaurants themselves, you know, you'd have a serious problem because there's a conflict of interest. And this is exactly the conflict of interest we have in the pharmaceutical industry. The bodies that are required to license and regulate the drugs are paid for by the industry. The drug industry is paying the regulators, they're paying the academics that are researching the drugs, they're paying for the trials that are submitted to the regulatory body, and they have to provide at least two clinical trials of their drug being proven effective over a placebo. And that does not mean they can do 100 trials, have 98 of those trials fail, but as long as 2 trials prove effective, they can take those trials to the regulatory body and get regulatory approval for that medication. And this is a very dangerous situation. We need to remove the divide between the regulatory industry and the pharmaceutical industry so that we can tighten up the ethics. And until that happens, we're going to have an industry that is controlled by lies and deceit.
Well, lies and deceit arise in another way. It's not only to the benefit of the drug industry when they want to seek approval for some new patented contraption that they've got to put out. It also has been used to pummel vitamins and nutrients, that they will have these studies that, as your film points out, can be rigged and manipulated to make vitamins and minerals look worse than they really are.
You see it all the time. And one perfect example, I was speaking to a drug company insider who had worked for some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And in about the mid-90s, when the SSRI antidepressant drugs were in a real boom, and we were seeing a huge uptake, and even in the late 90s, early 2000s, these drugs were still dominating the marketplace even today. They're such powerful medications. And in the late 90s, there was more discoveries around St. John's wort, and this is a natural herb that can be used to alleviate the symptoms of depression and elevate mood. And when research papers were coming out with the importance of St. John's wort and how it's amazing for depression symptoms, and when used in conjunction with a good diet, it can be a lot more effective than taking medications, the pharmaceutical industry swung into action and developed a campaign to squash any of this information. They put leading doctors on their payroll onto all the major TV networks saying that this is a hoax, that St. John's wort is not effective, and that these medications are much more effective. And then they also use scare tactics of, if you use this herb in conjunction with the medication, then it's going to be dangerous. So again, they're preying on these scare tactics to convince consumers into consuming their medications, which really are the primary benefit to the pharmaceutical company is adding value to shareholders. And this is where we have a severe problem in the regulatory and advertising side of things.
I remember in the film that the point is made a couple of times when you look at the dangers of pharmaceuticals, which are vast, compared to the dangers of vitamins and supplements and nutrients, which they're almost negligible, almost non-existent. And yet there's a push to control, regulate, or eliminate vitamins from the American market.
Well, I think what Andrew Saul talks about in the documentary, one of the amazing people that we interviewed, was that in 23 years, you have a few million people, over 2 million people, I think it's about 2.3 million if you take that statistic, of 106,000 people per year, plus the other statistics we talked about with surgery and infections, 39,000 people per year, plus 80,000 people per year. We have over 2 million people dying at the hands of conventional medicine in 23 years, yet in 23 years, there's less than 10 people have been killed by vitamins. And we have this situation where we have a very safe and effective treatment for natural and effective treatment for chronic illness, which is being held back from the public because it cannot be patentable. It's not patentable, and you cannot make money off it. And this is where the source of the problem lies. You see, I cannot patent an apple. I cannot patent vitamin C because these are naturally occurring substances. Yet you can patent a molecular structure that's been extracted from nature and made into a pharmaceutical form, which has many potentially harmful side effects, which many of these medications have. So these natural-based approaches don't make money, and because they don't make money, they're never marketed. So if you've got an illness or if you're looking to improve your health, you want to go to the area that's marketed least. And the things that are marketed least are natural organic foods, certain types of whole food supplement sources, these types of things, and that's where the power lies.
Well, you may not be able to patent an apple, but I'll bet Monsanto could.
They're working on patenting as much of the natural world as possible, and we're seeing huge atrocities committed in the genetically modified food arena, and also such wide scale. It's a huge biological experiment, really, and our health is being, is very low down the ladder for these companies.
You mentioned in the film Linus Pauling, of course, a two-time Nobel Prize winner, major advocate for vitamin C, brought vitamin C to the forefront of public consciousness. At the time, as you mentioned in the film, his claims for vitamin C were based on good science, good scientific studies, and then he sort of went too far with his claims, got into the area of clinical medicine, and the whole gigantic industry pounced on him. And now you get studies that, vitamin C, it's not proven, and anything, it seems, to sort of confuse the issue and confuse the kind of research that Linus Pauling, a great man, pioneered.
Linus was indeed a great man, and he did fantastic research which gave birth to, I guess, the orthomolecular industry, which was, this concept of using high-dose nutrients, and in particular vitamin C, for treating many conditions from the common cold right through to cancer, which we talk about in the documentary as well. And as you said, Linus was getting into dangerous territory towards the end of his research career. When he started getting into the medical industry, and as he started discovering the benefits of vitamin C for treating these illnesses, the medical industry saw that there was a risk to their profits, and they really interjected quickly to try to denounce his research and try to really shut down any benefits that he was showing and proving to find. So we have Linus Pauling, as you said, two-time Nobel laureate, and the only person ever to hold two Nobel Prizes individually, one for peace and the other for chemistry, discovering the power of vitamins to heal the body and correct deficiencies and bolster the immune system, and yet we have the medical profession attempting to shut him down because it's a risk to their profits of their pharmaceutical drug.
I was surprised to learn that there had been studies way back to the 40s on the power of vitamins, vitamin supplements, studies that have been forgotten basically now.
Well, there's Robert Klenner, the Shute brothers. There's many papers showing the efficacies of vitamin E for heart disease and heart conditions. Then you've got vitamin C for its immune boosting properties and for mood elevating properties. And the thing is that all these vitamins are beneficial across such a wide spectrum of illnesses, because what it does is a vitamin doesn't heal you. What the vitamin does is it enables your body to heal. And this is a core concept, because your body is a self-healing machine. It wants to heal.
James, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It will heal.
James Colquhoun, documentary producer of Food Matters. Sorry to interrupt you there. We'll come back to this right after the break. On James Colquhoun, in your documentary Food Matters, you tell a story about Bill W., the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, that I had never heard before. Share it with our audience.
Sure. Well, Bill W., in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous, was working with Dr. Abram Hoffer, and Dr. Abram Hoffer is an incredible doctor from Canada who passed away last year, unfortunately. But Dr. Hoffer had an incredibly high success rate with mental illness and mental conditions, and in particular depression and schizophrenia, using nutrient therapy or vitamins and minerals and changing the diet. And Dr. Hoffer suggested to Bill W., the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, that he could use vitamin B3 or niacin to help with his depression, to help with his anxiety, and also help with, reducing the cravings for alcohol. And Bill W. found this therapy of just adding the vitamin B3, the niacin, to his therapy, found that it was working tremendously. People were experiencing fantastic results, which mimics the work that Dr. Abram Hoffer had done. And this was used within the Alcoholics Anonymous organization until such point that the organization grew and came under more and more regulatory control, and at which point they removed this part of the therapy, and it's no longer been in existence in there to this date. And unfortunately, although Alcoholics Anonymous focus on many laudable steps that alcoholics can take to reduce their cravings and reduce depression and reduce anxiety, they're missing out on some very important parts of the story because of how it's been regulated, which is quite sad.
It's niacin, right?
That's correct. Vitamin B3 is niacin. And, as you have to be careful as you increase your dose, because it can cause a flushing effect, which is this feeling like you've just had a mild sunburn, but that's simply because of how it dilates the blood and helps circulate the oxygen around the body, which is one of the therapeutic benefits of this particular vitamin. But, it can be extraordinarily powerful when used for people with depression, even ranging up to very severe depression. It's got fantastic clinical use, and also for anxiety and for reducing cravings as well. It's a very powerful nutrient.
So how much, I know you're not a doctor, so we have to be careful here, and please, folks, don't take us at our word, but I mean, how much niacin or B3 are you talking about taking to have some sort of a positive effect on depression, anxiety, things of that sort?
Well, Andrew Saul, one of the contributors to the Food Matters documentary, suggests that there is a protocol that he suggests for people introducing niacin into their diet, and introducing this supplement into their therapeutic regime. And the way that he suggests people do it is to start with a small dose, which is about 25 milligrams, and then increasing that up as you go. And so taking 25 3 times a day, and the next day taking 50 3 times a day, and then 75, and then 100, and then building that up by 25 milligrams each day. And until you reach a point where you experience a light flush, that might last for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And it just feels like you're in a warm bath, you feel quite warm, your skin will tingle a little bit, and that's when you know you've reached saturation point in the body. And it's important to reach that point, because once you reach that point, that's when that vitamin has a therapeutic effect. Because vitamins are interesting, and the study of orthomolecular medicine, which we talk a lot about in the film, is about using nutrients to create a healing effect within the body. And so when you take a high enough dose of vitamin B3, niacin, for example, or vitamin C for that example as well, when you take a high enough dose, you'll reach a saturation point. And once you reach the saturation point, then you know that your body is flooded with that particular vitamin at that point in time, and its therapeutic benefits will take place in the body. So it can be used very effectively, it's very cheap, and it's a great way to eliminate symptoms and address some of the underlying causes, and at the same time you improve your diet, also focus on some detoxification strategies, then you can return your body to optimum health before you had the illness. So it can be used very powerfully.
We've mentioned medical doctors who've written papers, peer-reviewed papers about nutrition and seen those papers sort of buried. We mentioned Linus Pauling and the difficulties he ran into, Bill W. What about you?